Welcome to Newsworthy Stories with Jacqueline Jimenez. There's been a big push for small businesses to consider government contracting. Well, joining us now to talk more about that is Eric Coffey. He is with GovCon Giants. And, not only is he going to tell us where to start, but he's going to bring some of the biggest federal contractors in the country. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
What is GovCon Giants?
So GovCon Giants is a essentially we it started out as an idea that I had to teach everyday people how to win extraordinary contracts, and it's based on my experiences of navigating the federal arena some 15 years ago. And so what I did in 2017 was I created a YouTube channel to teach people all the things that I knew and share my experiences, and hopefully that they can learn that it was much easier than they thought. The barriers to entry were not as great as people perceived, and to really answer a lot of the myths that were out there surrounding government contracts. And so that was in 2017. And then in 2018, I launched a podcast where I interviewed the top small businesses in the world. And so our organization, GovCon Giants, essentially now is a nonprofit where we provide free training and education publicly to all businesses who want to enter the federal arena. And so we've since that time made over 1,200 videos, and we've had millions and millions of views, trained thousands and thousands of small businesses, and we continue to spread the word. Some people like to say we're an extension of the SBA, but not officially.
Well, I tell you, I was just looking, through your website, through some of the things that you have accomplished. First of all, what are some of the services that you offer? Because I think that would be surprising. Because when you think of government contracting, nonprofit is not something that comes to mind. So, what is that kind of, nonprofit serve the community? What are you doing exactly?
Yeah, we've figured out that there's some really startling statistics out there where small business industrial base has been eroding for the last 2 decades. And unfortunately, no one stepped up to really solve that issue in a major way. And so we say that we like to bridge the gap between the 40 million small businesses that are not participating in the arena and the small business industrial base, the DoD and Fed civilian agencies. And so we want to help the federal government. Surprisingly enough, they don't have enough small businesses helping to support the mission. And they don't have a marketing budget to really broadcast these things. So really what I found was that the way the government was trying to reach people was through road shows, and a lot of times they were going to the same places searching for new blood. And I just decided that since social media is a commonly used platform amongst people around the world, why not take this information and put it online so that people can access it from their home computers, and so or their mobile phones, wherever it's convenient for them. And that's what we decided to do. So, we take people from, again, infantry, not knowing anything in their infancy stage, to some of our free training programs that we provide. And on top of that, we interview the top small businesses. So again, there's a numerous amount of ways in which you can learn from us. Free GovCon course is one of my courses that we offer. And then if you want a paid training, structured training program, and you said, hey, look, you've got too many YouTube videos out here, put it in order, because YouTube doesn't allow me to put my videos in order. They just publish them.
Oh, yeah.
So then when people want a structured curriculum, then we offer structured curriculum. And so we offer a program that we call Accelerator. It takes you through 10 weeks training, everything that you need to do to get started, to start doing market research, to understanding who are your customers, who buys what you sell, up to writing proposals, submitting proposals, and then even helping you manage that contract, right? So after you win the contract, what do you need to do to maintain the contract and then complete it and then get paid? And so that's what we like to do for students. I say that my courses, we could take you up to about $5 million in revenue. And after that, you've got to go into a paid retainer program where we're consulting with you.
Well, tell me some of the stumbling blocks that people have when it comes to government contracting. I mean, besides, the number one thing I think of is paperwork.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? People are really intimidated by paperwork, and the government seems to throw a lot of it at you. And what we try to do is show people how really, if you look at the people on the other end, we all have about the same intelligence level, right? And so we don't really see it that way. Most people see themselves not in a positive light, and so they have a lot of self doubt, and most of us carry imposter syndrome. So what I've found is that uh, if I can record myself going through this paperwork and showing you what I'm looking for, you could just copy me and do it, right? So you don't have to technically learn anything in the beginning. You could literally copy what we do. And so there's some shortcuts that we give people. First of all, we tell you what sections, when you're pulling out these huge requirements, the government, again, because they're standardized, there's some key sections that you want to go to right away. And so once you learn that kind of stuff, like, oh, okay, I just go to these two sections. And then I can determine whether or not we call it bid, or go, no go. You can make a really easy determination as to whether or not you're qualified or eligible or what you have to do, and you can throw that out right away. So as a small business, the biggest issue that I hear is like, hey, I have limited time and limited resources, right? And so a couple of things that I hear is they don't have money, right? Because the government, on most instances, you have to deliver the product, the good, the service, and then be reimbursed. So we talked to you about how do you structure getting not business credit, but vendor credit. And so we talk about that. How do you get vendor credit? How do you structure agreements where you're teaming up with other people that can perform a piece of the work so that you can defer, right, the monies that you've got to put out until after you're paid. So we teach people how to do those things. And these were all tricks that I've had to learn along the way. And because, again, I actually started doing government contracting when I was down and out. And so when I was at my most vulnerable state, that's when I started. Those are the things that I could show people because I didn't have good credit, right? The second time that I started, I was $200,000 in a hole. And so if I could start off with bad credit and $200,000 in debt, you surely can start off if you've got no credit or limited credit and you have not that amount of debt. So again, there's really a lot of ways in which you can do this. And I think that because people don't know all of the different ways and approaches, then they feel stuck and they just know go online, put on an RFP, bid it, right? Get, you have to have business credit or good personal credit. You got to have a line, and all this kind of stuff. And that's just really not the case. Like I said, I started off the second time around with a lawsuit looming over my corporation. I was basically down to 2 employees from 23 employees. And I started off the second time as a subcontractor under an entity that basically, with a little bit of restructuring the payment system, I was able to get paid up front on a project because I knew how to structure the agreement. And then that was able to carry me even being in debt. And so those are the kind of things that we teach small business because I've been there, right? No one gave me anything, so I didn't have bank loans. I don't have wealthy in-laws or parents or family members. So every time that I had to start, I've had to start from basically zero or negative. And so we teach people how to do those things. I think that's a lot of the misconception that people have. So I don't have any money. I don't know how to do paperwork. I don't know how to write proposals. Well, every contract doesn't require a proposal.
Right.
There are many contracts that require 2-page paper, right? And then there's contracts that, again, where it requires basically, well, just submit your price. So those are the kind of common things that we hear with small businesses: is proposal writing, and then not having capital, and then not knowing how to review the actual paperwork of the RFPs.
And most of those proposals, or when they put out a bid, or they have an email,
Yeah,
right? So you can contact that person and say, this is the information I have, or what kind of questions that you might have. So even if you're not sure, try. I
absolutely.
didn't know because how to do it perfectly, or anything like that. And I went ahead and tried. And I said, well, this is the information I have. I'm going to put it on this piece of paper in the way that I know how, and I
Sure.
submitted it. and
Right.
I won the bid. And so
Absolutely.
it's, they're not necessarily looking for perfect. They're looking to make sure you know how to do the work,
Yes.
and that you can do that. They know, just like you said, that they're looking for small businesses. They want to encourage small businesses to participate. And so they're trying to help you do that. So they're actually on your side because you're actually making the effort. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree totally. Again, what I found with my students is when they start doing the activities, they start getting results. And it's just the people that are sitting on the sideline that don't get results. And there's some really basic activities that all of us can do up front to start getting some immediate results, getting responses back from government officials, and letting you know this is real. I will caveat by saying I specifically work with federal agencies. I don't work with state or local agencies. So the things that I teach, the lessons that I talk about, are all specific to federal agencies.
About what I read was 30 million in 1 year.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. We're now doing 100 plus million a year in student
What?
contract wins. Yes.
We need to update that. We got to update that website. 'Cause I was like,
So,
I was happy
sometimes,
with 30 million. You just threw 100 million at me.
some we really, I found again, just uh, talking with a lot of underrepresented founders, they just say, even on a call that I had recently, they said, "Well, I'm just trying to get $100,000 contract," and so that's the mentality that a lot of people have when they come to this is I'm just trying to get this. I'm just trying to, as opposed to seeing what's out there that matches up to what you've done in the past and being able to put the best team forward regardless of the number. We get intimidated by numbers all the time, and it's awful because the government itself, if you know how to sell one pen, right, and you know where to get the pen from, what's the difference between selling a million pens? It's the same pen, right? But when we hear the big numbers, like it's $1 million, we think, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to do that? Well, in most instances, when you read down to the requirements, they're asking for things and fractions, right? So they're not asking for all 1 million pens tomorrow. They're saying send me 10,000 pens, right? You're sending to me in 10,000 package increments over a year or two. And so when I like to break that down to people so that you feel less unsure and less intimidated by it, because that's just the mindset of a lot of us.
And when you talk about not knowing, what you can do with one pen, or they're asking for $100,000. Many of these founders, were executives in major corporations, and now they have founded their own company. And so it's intimidating, but if they understood that they have been doing this job already for so long for someone else, they're really just doing it for themselves. But yeah, it feels heavier because it's them
Right.
doing it. But
Right.
just think of it as, you're doing, you're just level that is pleasing to you and not somebody else's um, goal.
No, I agree. I worked at Outback Steakhouse and we did $60,000-$70,000 a night. But you didn't know those numbers, so people, you didn't
I
think.
want to talk about something that is coming up, something else you're pouring your heart and soul into, and that is this summit that you're doing for the first time. You are bringing all these federal contractors, some of the biggest ones in the country, right to our doorstep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, the thing that I continue as I travel the country speaking at different events for the SBA and various groups, I learned that again, the government right now, they're on a 2-decade decline, 48% fewer small businesses participating, awarded contracts than in 2009. And so they're saying, hey, we need to build our industrial base so that we can remain competitive against our foreign adversaries, right? We need that it's really becoming more of a national security issue. And so I basically, in talking to different federal agencies, I was saying to them, why not give Miami and South Florida a try? We've got a huge tech base here. We have all of the financial firms are now moving down to South Florida. So why not look at South Florida as a new, essentially, landing pad for building up our industrial base. And so people bought into the idea and they liked what I was saying. And they decided, hey, why not try Miami? Because it has not been in our rotation of cities to visit and talk about all of the opportunities that exist within our agencies. And so that's what we're doing. And particular Department of Energy, I like to highlight them because in the last infrastructure plan, they were one of the agencies that were awarded the most money, the biggest pot of money. And a lot of that has to do with climate resiliency. And so for many of us out there, I like to tell people, if you look at anything with like EV charging stations and energy, you can be the first person, the first company to tackle those markets. These are all brand new markets, so there's no gatekeepers. When you look at the way that they're issuing opportunities, they have contracts, they have grants, and then they have competitions. And so with these competitions now, they're no longer subject to the same rules of the federal regulations as contracts and grants. So you could essentially be awarded $100,000 prize. It's called prize, right? Through a competition for just submitting an idea. And those are the things that we want to bring forth to people and let them know that this exists, because we are trying to solve issues at a massive scale and we need new blood, new people, new ideas to help us do this. And so again, I'm the government's microphone out here screaming and yelling, cheering and advocating for all of us to participate. And rather than sit here and complain about what we see on the news and the TV and all the infighting, let's look at all the opportunities and the pots of money that are going unfulfilled and unmet because you're not raising your hand saying, I have the ability to do this. I'm competent and I'm capable and I'm willing and I'm able.
I love that. I just absolutely love this. It's similar to what I think we had chatted about a little while ago. Because when you said we're trying to generate interest in the USDA, because for the same reason, that's not small businesses they're looking for actual people, youth,
Right. Yeah.
because
Right.
that industry is aging. And, they're doing it specifically in the US Virgin Islands and the Caribbean because 98% of their food and water is imported, same concept, also government. So, let's help the government out, small businesses, it's your duty.
No, it is. Jacqueline, you'd be surprised when I sit in meetings with like groups like NASA, and they said that we had to put this bid out to the open market because no small business raised their hand and said they could do it all the time.
I believe it because I'm thankful that I've been getting these introductions. People have been talking about government contracts for maybe about a year, but I finally started taking steps, and really the last 6 months. Really taking those steps to take advantage of it. And not only that, but international trade, the same thing, So I'm trying to find out this revenue stream that is, right all around me, and I want to take advantage of it. You have to try.
We have to try.
I do
Yeah,
think
no,
so. What
absolutely.
can we expect at the summit?
So what you can expect at the summit is to hear about all the opportunities that I mentioned today and more, right? You're going to actually meet. So a lot of the speakers that I have are either federal agencies or they are prime contractors that work with these agencies. So we've got again, I'm bringing up my podcast guests, and there may not be famous like celebrities, but in the government's world, they're solving national security issues at scale. They have a lot of subcontractor opportunities. They have a lot of opportunities for teaming. In fact, I just left one of my major speakers. His executive team is in town. They're having an executive lunch. They're looking for mentor proteges. So they're small businesses that they can mentor. And so they said they have one right now. They're looking to add 5 more. So again, if you're a small business and you think you have what it takes, come hear about all the opportunities out there to participate in this marketplace. If you're afraid to go after as a prime, no worries. You could talk to some of these. Again, if the people that I'm bringing are CEOs and presidents of companies, they're the decision makers. You want to get out in front of them, tell them who you are, tell them what you do, learn what they offer, and see how you can become a subcontractor and at least break into the marketplace and get your feet wet underneath somebody else's umbrella, right? And so they'll protect you in a way and shield you from any harm, but you'll be growing, learning at the same time. And again, the majority of the companies were once subcontractors, right? Everyone started out somewhere. And so now these guys run companies that are from, I think some of them, the smallest is probably 5 million up to a couple $100 million, right? I've got a couple of companies that just graduated small business and they're now considered large. And so they're at the $100+ million mark. I've got a guy coming in that talks about partnering with tribal organizations. So when you look at the small business program, in particular the 8A program, 49, what, let me go back to the numbers. 29.8% of all those contracts come out of the Alaska Native tribes of all the small business 8A programs. If you throw in the Native Hawaiian and the lower 48 tribes, you're looking at probably 50 to 60% of all the small business contracts. So it really behooves you to know who these players are, to work with them because they have so many opportunities that they can't fulfill it, and they're looking for partners of all shapes, all sizes, all specialties. I'll give you one example. A friend of mine who does curriculum development, he just partnered with Crowley, one of the largest logistics company in the world. You see their trucks everywhere. They've got Crowley Oil and Gas up in Alaska. You see them on trains. You see, if you look at Connex boxes, you'll see Crowley trucks. And so he helped them do some learning, curriculum development to train some of their drivers on handling, like, for example, hazardous waste or specialty type of products that can only be shipped after having a certification. So there's opportunities even when we look at it. Like if you're thinking, well, I've got a lady that's coming who does translation services. Well, every single pamphlet manual the government has is being translated into multiple languages to get out to the public. So there's room for everybody out here. And so I don't really know how else to say it, but you know,
Well,
um,
that's the thing. People hear the word contractor and they think construction. This is so far from just construction. It's far from that. It's every
no. Oh,
industry
one
practically.
of my panelists, Porch Creek Tribe of Indians, just won a $400 million marketing and advertising contract.
I'll be on that. Do they need a subcontract? Let
Of
me
course
in.
they do. Everyone needs a subcontractor. Listen,
Of course.
everyone.
Everyone.
None of these people are doing this by themselves, Jack. That's what people
Absolutely
don't
not.
fail to realize. There's
And
nobody that's going to stand on the stage and says, "I did this whole $100 million contract by myself." They have
no.
hundreds. Again, I just left a meeting where, my friend's company, there was probably, I don't know, 25, 30 people in the room. They all had programs that they were managing and running, and they all had their own budget. And so just in that one company, there's dozens of programs with program managers with their own budgets slated for their own projects. So just with one company, you could have been on a plethora of different contracts as a sub across the board. So that's with one company,
Mm.
just one, right? And so the example I gave you with the company has the marketing contract, I think that tribe, Porch Creek Federal Services, has 13 companies underneath its umbrella,
Now this event
corporations.
happens October 12th.
Yes,
So October 12th is an all-day event.
yes,
And so you want to get out there, you want to sign up, and you want to get your tickets today, or
absolutely.
actually yesterday, but today, and tell your friends because you're going to learn something. You're not going to come out of there empty-handed. And what should we bring? Is there anything specifically that we should bring? Anything that would help us out?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say to small businesses is bring a capability statement. And if you don't know what that is, go online, go on YouTube and type in capability statement, Google it, go to my website and figure out what it is. And essentially, it's just your business resume. That's it. So I would bring my capability statement. That's your business resume. That's what we all look for when you're talking to people in government. I would have a printed version and a digital version. And I would also, if you had time, go in and research the speakers, right? We're using what's called a scheduling app that lists all of our speakers. And you could go in, look at the speakers, look at what they do, research them, understand who it is that you want to talk to. We have a lot of speakers. I think I don't know the number. I know it's around 40 speakers that we have. So we have a lot of people to talk to. And so I can tell you right now, I know that we have no less than 5 tribal organizations, and they're probably make up over $1 billion in contracts between just those 5 tribal organizations. And though between the 5 tribal organizations, they probably have, like I said, well over north of $1 billion in contracts, but they probably have between them 40 companies. So it's,
So
I
come to
mean,
do business. So
come
don't
to
just
the,
come.
hey, listen,
Don't come.
come,
This
no,
isn't a
no, no, we're not
Filipino
coming to play.
seminar.
No,
You got to
that's why
come to
for
do
us,
business.
we're the difference between us and when you go to these other things where people just talk about money. We want to talk to you about what can you do to help support our mission. We have these programs, and so if you say, "Hey, I'm a whatever, I do cybersecurity training," okay, then you want to talk to this person about this program. If you say, "Hey, I do infrastructure design," okay, you want to talk to this person about this program. We want you working with program managers on specific programs where we need help. It'd be better if you could knew them and you could tell us exactly what they were or are, because that would even help us guide you so that we could put you right with a specific person. But everyone that I've invited is really a down to earth person. I know these people personally, with the exception of a few people coming from government, but everyone, Ron Pierce, I know personally, Shalea Morset, Jonathan Hart, Eric Doc Wright. Again, Doc Wright, I know these people. Doc Wright has personally, he's helped, I forgot his number. I think it's somewhere north of 10,000 veterans secure jobs of 6 figures or more. And 95% of them are still in those jobs. So he helps veterans turn around and get high paying jobs through his skills training program. So we've got things for college students. We have programs for veterans. We have programs for small businesses. And then particularly if you're an IT company, we've got a track for that. So those are our 4 tracks.
Oh, I can't wait to learn more about this. And of course, we're going to bring you stories from the summit so you can learn and
Right.
hear some of it. But I think you need to be in the room. I think there's no way to express whatever I share than being in that room. So I would go and get your tickets today and not wait. And wow, that is really exciting. I tell you, it's really mind blowing what you have there and who you've brought together. And I think anyone who gets to attend your first GovCon Giants Summit,
Right.
I think they're going to just be talking about it until next year.
No, no, no. And on top of this, the speakers, I have a lot of my top students flying in town from this. I have people coming from Dubai, Mexico, Peru. And so, some of those students that you're talking about that have done $5 million, $3 million, $2 million, they're going to be there as well. So students who start off from zero with no experience, they'll be there as well, sharing their stories. So maybe you may say, well, Eric, I don't really identify with these people that have all these big companies and stuff. We're going to have students there telling their stories. In fact, one of our students is a 21-year-old who helped his parents do $5 million in business last year, reselling parts to the government. And so he's going to be a workshop speaker. And again, he started when he was 16 years old. Now he's 21. He was the senior buyer for his parents' company. Nothing went out the door without his approval. And he's been doing it since he was 16 years old.
Wow. I'm going to introduce you to my son. He's 16. Nope, he just turned 17. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, Dave
stand
can
by
Tavi. Yeah, I'll be
just a
happy to
moment.
share with you his video and content. He's now teaching other people. I think since we've profiled him, he's taught over 40 other persons about how to do this. Some of his students are now have hit 5 figures. I'm sorry, 6 figures. One student got a contract in 2 weeks. The other one got a multi-year contract. So he's now I can see the ripple effect of what we've been doing is now carrying on.
Okay. Eric Coffey, he is the real deal, the CEO and founder of GovCon Giants. You're going to hear much more about him. Eric, thank you so much for joining us on Newsworthy Stories.
Thank you for having me today. It was a pleasure.